Now let's talk more about URL routings and about URL patterns in general, and how this portion works in conjunction with our views. And so you can think of URLs as when should Django actually return for us a response. A response can be an HTML page, which we saw previously in the previous video, or what URL is the user going to visit. And this is where now we begin to create some URL configuration, some sort of setting to tell Django when a particular URL is visited, and then this function should be run in order to return that particular HTTP response. So in our application, in our hello application, we have inside views.py a function, a greet name, which will return for us a response hello world. And in order for us to view that response, we went to urls.py, which is inside of our project, and we imported that views file from that application, and we reference it inside of our file. So when we go to route, no specific route, so by default whenever we enter our URL link that is given to us when we run our server, we're going to call that function inside of views, which is here. Now let's say that we have multiple applications. As we said, a project can have multiple applications, and so then how would Django know which views do we mean? So let's say I imported views from hello and from another application, let's say greet. So we have multiple views files, and in order to avoid that, we can replace that statement by saying from hello dot use from hello, from that file inside of our hello application, we're going to import that function called greet. And when you do that, just go ahead and write the name of our function here. So let's say we have another application, let's say greet. We add another statement from views.use import and the name of the function. That way we won't get confused by which views file would we need. And it turns out that we can do something even better. So we're going to create a URL urls.py file for this particular application, so for the hello application. So Django has one urls.py that works for the entire project, which is this, but oftentimes we have each application contains its own URLs .py file, just for the sake of separating things it into different places, because if we have multiple applications, each is going to do something independent, and so we can have each of these individual applications have its own urls.py file to control the URLs that are available for this particular app. So we'll go ahead and go to the hello directory, which is here, and we're going to add a new file, and I'm going to be calling it urls.py. So what do we need to add into that urls.py? So we need a list, a URL patterns list, the same similar to that of the project, and inside of that list we'll be adding all the allowable URLs that are accessed for this particular app. And the way to create a URL is by first importing from Django.urls. So from Django.urls we're going to import path, and now let's go ahead and create our first URL, and let's say we want that so we're just going to be moving it from here to here and adding it here. So this path is special only for this application, and this is the first argument, so I'm not going to add anything here. This is an empty string, meaning no additional arguments, and we're going to see that what does that mean in a moment. And the second argument apart is what you should be rendering when you visit that URL. So I want to render this function, that greet function. Then what I want to do is just add the name of the function here, which is greet. However, we're going to first import from that directory. We're going to import use the fuse file in order to use that function. And so, as I said previously, we're going to be giving that path, that third argument, which is the name. And as I said, this can be useful later on, but the idea is giving a name for a particular URL path makes it easier to reference it from other parts of the application. So later, when we might want to link two things or have forms that are submitting two different parts of the application, give me a name of a path that can be useful too. And of course, we need to specify that we want greet from that file that's been imported. So this is the string, the empty string, meaning that no additional argument, and we're going to see that in a moment. And this is the function that we want. Then this is the name of the function. Now, the last step in order to get all of this working for the very first time is to go back into the project directory, and open up urls.py, so which is here, and this is the urls.py file for the entire project, for all the applications that might be contained inside of the project. And it just so happens that there is one path already given to us by default called admin, which runs a default Django application called admin application, which we saw earlier. But for now, I'd like to add my own app right here route. So saying that I would like to add my particular route, not the admin, but the hello app that I've just created. So I'll go ahead and give this back this path. So you have this path, hello. So whenever enter the argument with the hello slash, meaning the name of my application, and what I'd like to do now is to say that after I've included the hello, go ahead and include all of the URLs of the url.py in my hello application. So I'm basically linking these two URLs application files together. And so the command to do so is include. So we have a method called include, which is going to do that for us. So okay, include hello dot URLs, as in the URLs of the hello application, and we're going to remove the statement, we don't need it anymore, and we're going to use the include methods. In order to use it, we need to import it from Django. So now there was a lot of steps just to get things started, but just to get a high-level overview of how this is all working, I have a Django project called project 1, and inside of that project 1 there's a urls.py file that decides what URLs I can access. I can access the admin, which takes me to the admin application, which is created by Django, and we don't have to worry about that just yet. But now I just added another path, which is the hello. So if I add to my URLs hello/hello, I'm going to go to the hello application. And when I do that, I'm telling Django to look at the urls.py inside of my hello directory to figure out what additional URLs, which is here, what additional URLs I can get from there. So this is one master, the urls.py, that might connect to multiple different real URL configurations, such as this, that might exist as well. And inside of the URLs.py of my application, for the hello application, I've said that when someone visits just the default route for this particular application, so if I just enter /hello and I don't enter anything else after that, not slash anything else, just go ahead and run that greet function. That is one of my views, which is right here. So all of that to say, we know that when that's done, I just need to say if we go to the command prompt and run python manage.py run server inside of my project to actually start up the web server, and now I actually just want to copy that URL, and I'll go ahead and copy that inside of my web browser, and I'm just going to add /hello to go the hello application. And now, as you can see, because we added that default route to the function that we just put inside of use, we got that HTTP response hello world, which we can see here. So just to recap as to what happened here, when I typed that URL went to Django, and Django looked at that URL and looked at the URLs.py file and said, anytime something starts with /hello, that belongs to the hello application. And as you can see here, and the side of our hello configuration, we said that when we go to the default route, we should run that in that greet function, and the greet function returns this hello world response. And now we can begin to change that response. We can begin to adjust what it is that use.py is actually doing. Right now it's saying hello world. Let's try to change it to say hello Sarah, and go ahead and save it. And now if I go to my website and let's say I refresh my page, we can see that it's changed. So I can edit my files, and when I do that, Django notices that there's a change, and it will be updated by the server with the latest code, such that now I can visit /hello, and I can say that the response of hello is what ultimately comes back to me. So here, hello Sarah. When I change it to world, it's going to be updated. So if I go ahead and refresh my page, it turns to hello world. So this is one way we could use the URLs.py to better enhance our applications in general.